I'm with Alex Thompson, Principal Safety Engineer for Thatcham Research, a Euro NCAP member and an accredited test facility. We're going to consider some of the vehicles that are in contention for the 2024 What Car Safety Award. So Alex, when people think about safety, they generally think about crash protection, but there's much more to it than that, isn't there?
That's right. There's four key aspects really to vehicle safety, and they include safe driving and how the vehicle can assist with that driving task, crash avoidance and trying to prevent the crash from happening in the first place, crash protection, where the vehicle protects the occupants and other road users from the consequences of a crash. And then there's post-crash care, how the vehicle can help inform the emergency services to respond to the scene of a crash.
So how has crash safety improved over the last 25 years since Euro NCAP started assessing cars?
Crash safety has come a long way in the past 25 years, and vehicles have been designed so their structures are able to absorb energy from a crash. The compartments remain intact and stable and therefore maintain an occupant survival space within the vehicle, and that helps the restraint systems within the vehicle to work properly. That will be the seat belts, pre-tensioners, airbags for example, how they can protect the occupants from the deceleration of a crash and hopefully keeping them safe.
So what are the most significant new developments in crash safety?
Some of the more recent developments include the assessment of compatibility, and that's how well a larger vehicle can share the crash energy with a smaller vehicle so that the outcomes are better managed. In other areas, we've seen the improvement of side impact protection, so we're seeing more centre airbags between occupants that can help prevent heads from banging together in a crash, which can cause really serious injuries. Pleasingly, all of the cars on this year's shortlist have been fitted with a centre airbag between the driver and passenger. That's a really important feature for safety, and it's a new feature that we see on cars like the BYD Seal and the Lexus RZ behind us.
So thinking about this year's Safety Award contenders, are there any vehicles that really stand out in terms of crash protection?
One vehicle does stand out from the rest, which is the Volkswagen ID.7. That scored really well in tests where there's a smaller stature driver and rear passenger, which shows that the restraint systems can work really well with a range of occupant statures in different seating positions around the car, and that's a really important feature for crash safety.
So all that sounds really good, but are there any areas where crash protection can still be improved?
Well, there is one area where crash protection can be improved for vulnerable road users, so pedestrians, cyclists and motorcyclists. That's an area where we still see a large number of people on the roads being killed or seriously injured. The design of vehicles to help manage the energy of those impacts is really important, and some vehicles can do this by deploying systems such as pop-up bonnets, and that's something that we've seen this year on the BMW 5 Series and the Volkswagen ID.7. Of course, while crash protection is a really key aspect of vehicle safety, there's also active safety systems which can help to prevent the crash in the first place.
So to find out more about these active safety systems, we're going to visit Thatcham's test track and meet vehicle technology specialist Tom Leggett. Hi Tom, well can you tell me a bit more about the active systems that are fitted to cars that really help to improve safety?
Yes, so when we talk about active safety, really what we're talking about here is crash avoidance, and that's part of this safety timeline that we've talked about before. So when it comes to crash avoidance, it's all about preventing the accident happening altogether in the first place. And a lot of the vehicles we have here are fitted with cameras and radars, and they help detect other objects on the road, such as cars and pedestrians, and again, they can help detect them and prevent the accident happening altogether. Along with the normal tests that we do that involve autonomous emergency braking and lane keep assist, we actually have a new test this year called cyclist dooring. So that's where a cyclist is riding alongside the car. And as the driver tries to open the door, it can warn the driver and say to them, watch out, there's a cyclist there. And some cars, such as the ID.7 and the Lexus RZ behind me, they actually go a step further, so they can prevent that door from opening to stop you striking that cyclist. And it's these small safety innovations that really make a big difference.
So that's one new test. What other innovations have been introduced this year?
So this year there's been a really big focus on vulnerable road users, creating new scenarios that are more representative of the kind of accidents that people will see on the real world. So this year we've introduced a new test called turn across path. So that's where a vehicle is turning into a road, but then there's also a pedestrian crossing that road at the same time. This is a very complicated test. There's also a lot more dynamic as well. And what we check is that the vehicle is able to detect that person and obviously avoid having a collision with them in the first place. So it's great to see vehicles like the BMW doing really well in that brand new test.
Are there any new developments to help motorcyclists?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a new test this year that involves a motorcyclist dummy target. So motorcyclists are typically very difficult for these systems to detect because they often move very quickly and their visual profile is also very small. So it's great to see new brands like BYD adhering to these new test protocols and also performing really well at them.
So what sort of things are you looking for in the safe driving aspect of the safety timeline?
So the safe driving is all about that collaborative part of the vehicle working with the driver and just supporting them and encouraging much safer behaviours. So a really good example is the ID7, where the lane keeping in the past has had very poor customer feedback about being far too intrusive and maybe even a little bit too aggressive. However, from the testing that we've done, we can see that the ID7 actually has a really good support system. It works with the driver and it's there when you need it rather than feeling too intrusive and annoying.
So now we've seen these cars in action and we've heard how well they keep people safe. Which one of these vehicles will be crowned the 2024 What Car Safety Award winner?
So the winner is the Volkswagen ID7. Not only did it perform really well across the board at all the Euro NCAP categories, it also performed particularly well in the frontal impact test, which really assesses against different statures of occupants. It's also great to see Volkswagen improving their lane keeping system. Not only did it perform really well at the Euro NCAP tests, it's also really much more collaborative with the driver.